Most people have a general idea of acupuncture. They imagine thin needles, a quiet room, a sense of relaxation. But when I talk about neurological acupuncture, I'm talking about something much more specific, much more precise, and far more powerful than most people realize. Hi, I'm Paul Rooney, licensed and board certified acupuncturist and founder of Neurological Acupuncture of New Hampshire, where I combine the convenience of house calls with the gentle effectiveness of more than 28 years of acupuncture experience. Let's get started. Neurological acupuncture is the application of acupuncture through the lens of modern neuroscience. It explains how needles influence the brain, the spinal cord, and the chemical messengers that help us feel, recover, and heal. And it does so by focusing on 4 core pathways and 8 neurotransmitters that have been repeatedly shown to change in response to acupuncture. When you understand the pathways, acupuncture stops being mysterious. It becomes a clear, evidence-based method for influencing the nervous system in very predictable ways. And once you see how these pathways work, you begin to understand why treatments performed in a calm, familiar environment often produce better results. Now, when I moved from a clinic setting to house calls, I expected people to feel more comfortable. I did not expect a 5% improvement in outcomes on top of an already high effectiveness rate. In neurological terms, a 5% improvement at those levels is enormous. Same needles, same practitioner, same training. The only difference was the state of the patient's nervous system receiving the treatment. Let's walk through what neurological acupuncture actually is and why context matters as much as technique. To start off, here's the coffee table version. Neurological acupuncture treats the nervous system first. Instead of focusing on chi or meridians or symbolic interpretations, it looks directly at how acupuncture influences the circuits that regulate pain, inflammation, mood, focus, digestion, sleep, and recovery. It works through sending a signal through the body's already existing wiring. The signal reaches the spinal cord, the brainstem, and the brain itself. And those regions respond by releasing chemicals that help the body rebalance. If you want a simple one-line answer, neurological acupuncture helps the body communicate with itself more clearly. When those internal signals become strong and organized again, people feel better. Pain drops, breathing steadies, mood stabilizes, fog lifts, and the body finally gets the green light to recover. That's the everyday explanation. Now let's go a level deeper in that nerd funnel and explain why it works. Your body has 4 main pathways that acupuncture activates. I go more into depth in this in my upcoming book, Acupuncture Decoded, but I'll go over them a bit here so you understand how the treatment framework. Think of these 4 pathways as 4 doorways into your nervous system, each handling a different part of how we function. These pathways influence 8 primary neurotransmitters that shape how we feel and heal. They include acetylcholine, serotonin, dopamine, norepinephrine, GABA, glutamate, substance P, and your own endorphins. When acupuncture is done correctly, it activates very specific combinations of these pathways. And when done consistently, these pathways start working together in a way that helps the body recover with far less resistance. This is where neurological acupuncture becomes different from a relaxation technique or a wellness session. It is targeted, measurable, and grounded in the neurobiology of pain, inflammation, emotional regulation, and cognitive clarity. So let's start at the tip of that nerd spear. We'll start with pathway 1, the vagal signaling pathway, and this is your body's sentinel. The vagus nerve is constantly listening for cues of safety or threat, and it shapes your entire physiology based on what it hears. Certain acupuncture points, like lung 7 and kidney 6, stimulate vagal afferents, sending signals upward into the brainstem. When that happens, the body releases acetylcholine, which activates a pathway that reduces inflammation and calms the system from the inside out. People often feel this shift into a calm alertness. The breath deepens, the shoulders drop, the nervous system starts processing signals instead of defending against them. Here's a simile you might find helpful. Acupuncture's effect on the vagus nerve pathway can be thought of like turning off the notifications on your phone so you can finally focus on what matters. This pathway responds exceptionally well in a familiar environment. A quiet living room, a favorite blanket, the soft rhythms of home. These cues tell the vagus nerve, don't worry, you're safe. You can relax into this. And when that safety signal is strong, the acupuncture signal travels much more cleanly. This is one reason why house call patients often see faster shifts in anxiety, post-viral dysautonomia, and stress-driven symptoms. Pathway 2, the spinal and brainstem activation, is all about pain modulation. When needles activate sensory fibers through acupuncture points like urinary bladder 62 and small intestine 3, they send messages into the dorsal horn of the spinal cord, where the body decides what sensations matter and what sensations can be turned down. From there, the brainstem sends back its own instructions. Serotonin, norepinephrine, and endorphins are released to quiet unnecessary pain signals. This is part of why acupuncture can help with migraines, neuropathy, musculoskeletal pain, and even post-stroke syndrome. This pathway is strengthened in calm environments, when the body is not in a fight, flight, or freeze. The spinal cord is less reactive, and the descending inhibition is stronger. Think of this like dimming the brightness on a harsh screen so your eyes can relax and adjust. Pathway 3 involves the neuroimmune interaction. In states of chronic stress, inflammation, or illness, cytokines disrupt neurotransmitter balance. They interfere with mood, energy, cognition, and pain thresholds. Now, acupuncture points like Sanjiao 5, gallbladder 41, these tell immune cells to rebalance. It lowers cytokines like interleukin 6 and TNF alpha, and it supports anti-inflammatory pathways through interleukin 10 that restore normal signaling. This is why neurological acupuncture is helpful for fibromyalgia-like symptoms, neuroinflammatory brain fog, post-viral syndromes, and chronic pain. Think of it like removing the grit from a set of gears so the system can move smoothly again. When this pathway is activated in a home setting, stress hormones fall faster, which speeds up normal cytokine normalization. This is part of what contributes to your improved outcomes at home. Pathway 4 is mononergic and GABAergic modulation. This pathway shapes mood, focus, cognitive clarity, and emotional resilience. Acupuncture has been shown to increase cortical GABA, regulate dopamine, raise serotonin, and reduce excess glutamate. Point combinations like spleen 4 and pericardium 6 support clearer thinking, a steadier mood, sleep, and improved executive function. Now here's one last simile for that fourth pathway. It's like adjusting the tension on a set of violin strings, so each one settles back into tune. Again, this system responds best when the environment does not trigger vigilance or distraction. This is why many patients report their deepest mental resets happen during house call sessions. Now, when I moved from a clinic setting to a house call care, I expected people to feel more comfortable. I didn't expect a 5% improvement in outcomes. In neurological terms, a 5% improvement at already high effectiveness levels is enormous. It's the difference between a signal fighting its way through interference and a signal arriving with clean fidelity. Now, here's why I think it happens. In a clinic, even a good one, the nervous system is processing dozens of microstressors: parking, fluorescent lights, waiting rooms, unfamiliar sounds and smells, and the subtle vigilance of being in someone else's space. Each one of those cues adds some sympathetic tone. Each one lowers vagal readiness. Each one reduces the clarity of the acupuncture signal. But at home, the body recognizes safety within minutes. Breath deepens, heart rate adjusts, the spinal cord becomes less reactive. The brainstem becomes more responsive. The neuroimmune system, it quiets. Monoamines rebalance more easily, and all four pathways become more efficient. The nervous system receives the treatment without having to defend itself first. This is why the last 5% unlocked. It wasn't because the needles changed, it was because the setting changed the nervous system receiving them. Neurological acupuncture, it's not a technique. It's a framework. It's a lens for understanding how acupuncture interacts with the real biology of the nervous system. It explains why acupuncture helps with pain, anxiety, migraines, brain fog, neuropathy, and so much more. It explains why the nervous system can reorganize itself so deeply with the right input, and explains why the safety, familiarity, and comfort matter more than most people realize. The heart of this work is simple. When the nervous system feels safe, it can finally respond. And when acupuncture is delivered inside that window of safety, the effects go deeper, they last longer, and they integrate more fully into the body's natural patterns. That is what neurological acupuncture is. And that is why I practice it the way I do. Now, if you're curious if in-home care can accelerate your results, please feel free to call me, text, or DM, because sometimes the most powerful medicine isn't just what we do, it's where we do it and how we do it.